Okay, it's Thursday, August 25th. This is the pre-opening SPY comment here as we have about an hour to go before trading. So again, go to some of the previous videos if you want to recap generally what I'm looking at for the SPY, which is kind of these are the 3 days of the week so far. We went down big on Monday. We went sideways for the last 2 days. Up into coming into today, we were still 2 down on the weekly chart with some targets below, but we know that if we kind of cross up above the open of this week, which is the open of Monday, then we have the potential to fail to hit that target, possibly with 2 days to go in the week, turning this weekly chart green. We might end up with kind of a shooter bar into a hammer bar by Friday. You never know, and maybe we'll be excited to start looking long into next week. Now that depends a lot on what happens today and tomorrow. So now we go to the overnight action. What you're actually seeing here on this daily chart, I'll go to the pre-market activity in a minute. These blue lines are the range of the pre-market right now. So you can see the high of the pre-market is right at the open of Monday, and the low is right at the highs of yesterday, or what is considered the top of this range. So, the range of these 2 days. So the question is, are we going to open eventually? Let's assume that the pre-market action kind of holds within this high and low range. Are we going to open up and continue, strongly, or in some form move up to the top and then break through here near the open and hold that breakthrough, and then that kind of has the day up strongly, and it has the weekly chart reversing possibly? Or we're going to kind of open down near the lows and turn red and go below there, then the first bar of the day and the opening action kind of aligns with the highs of the range. We might be heading to the bottom of this range. So let's see. So what's interesting now, this is the pre-market activity, and you can see here we did gap up big overnight right away, but immediately the selling off has happened. So that's kind of an interesting maybe a little footprint as to what's developing. You have the sell-off there, so it's possible maybe we at this point, this is what when I look at this action, these are the significant highs and lows I'm drawing in, and we'll see where it ends up by 8:30 at the open. But bottom line is, to me, on this day, we're going to have to either get above this area and hold for an uptrend to be significant, and we're going to have to open, or fail up here and then go below this low, or open below this low and hold to have a down day significant. So we're going to really watch that. For example, if I get a green, let's say this was the 8:30 open, I get a green bar here on the 15-minute chart, and then the next one breaks out and I decide to buy it because we're above yesterday's high, we're above the midpoint of yesterday and everything else. I'm going to first just target this high right here, and I got to know that, I'll take a trade going long right in here, knowing that's the target, but I'm very wary that, we might fail up here because that's an area where it failed before. So it's a great target, but you're going to have to hold above there to really continue the day up. If not, then I'm going to break even pretty quickly on such a trade. This is when you have a pre-market that sells off like that and you get an initial buy, just know that becomes more of a target, and it has and then a very key area to either continue or fail. If we start down in some form, red, and then break below this area, I know we have to hold below there, but we're kind of still at this moment, if we do it, above what I consider to be the midpoint of yesterday. So I kind of look at that as a target initially, which is, you can see here, it aligns with this yellow line. So again, I'll play the short trade, but I know in order for this, it's a tricky day, because what I prefer, let's say we're looking down because it's just a trading range and we're continuing lower eventually, but we're starting at the top of the range. So to me, that kind of just sets a target first to the middle of the range, then to the bottom of the range. And who knows if we can break all the way through to the downside, given that we're starting up pretty strong. So, I love my follow-through days to be kind of at the halfway point and above or below a previous day. So on the like these uptrends, here's a green bar, and then we start kind of at the halfway point of the prior day, move up. Here's another up bar, even though it's red, but we start at the midpoint and move up. So I prefer, I would have preferred a down day, if this was really going to continue lower, to be below the midpoint of this previous bar, and as it turns out, the previous 2 bars, and starting immediately down, type of thing, to know I'm going to get follow through. So if we go down today, in other words, at the open, then I have to kind of just play it and see if we can just get to the midpoint of yesterday, break through there, because it's possible we hold that area. And then, we don't really fall too much lower, or if not, then we got to get to the bottom of the range. So this is going to be a tricky day in terms of really significantly going lower right from the start, given the up opening, and yet. I'm going to look for any kind of failure up. In other words, I'm going to if we get some kind of buy signal, then I'm going to really have to monitor this overnight highs to know if we get continuation or not. And if we do, and I'll certainly play the buy side since we're gapping up. But again, I'm going to have to really, it has to go above. That's my key thing. To have kind of an up day, you got to be above the overday high, into pre-market highs. And to have a down day, you got to really be below that. So we're going to watch this range. We're going to kind of know that we're in a tricky situation. It will go wherever the market takes us, but we'll kind of got to know that if we go down, we only might be heading to the bottom of this range today, and if not, then be ready to maybe reverse. So that's another thing. Let's say we get a down trade, we just take out these stops, we kind of hold the midpoint of yesterday, and we immediately get a red to green kind of move. Then I would buy that, looking to go all the way back up to those highs. And again, the key being, can we turn the week around green by breaking above that area? So a lot of, it's a tricky opening. I guess bias to the upside a little bit. That's what I guess I prefer to see here, given this gap up, and then I can get long, target this area, have a little space to, a little leeway, so to speak, to break even if we don't break through. But if we do break through, then I know that we're potentially, turning this week around on Thursday, and then we have Friday to continue. If we close strong, then I think it's a good chance that we're going to be, next week kind of working back towards those highs. So let's see what happens today. We are, again, the tricky thing is we're selling off here. So that's another thing where I don't love that's what the market's trying to do on this gap up, is sell off. So that could be the continuation lower, and yet we're kind of starting at the top of a range, which I don't love. So maybe it's just another tricky day like yesterday. I'll end this now, and hopefully that's kind of clear in terms of the various things developing, what to look for, and how to, be careful, in terms of, if we go up, we really got to get through this level. If we go down, we're still above the midpoint of the prior day. So those are the tricky things on this day, the way I see it developing. But nevertheless, there'll be something that will develop. Just go with the opening type of trade, and then kind of keep those levels in mind and see if we get continuation or failures at some of the key points. And again, by the end of today, we'll see, what's really going on, I think, to end this week.